All right, so um, we're going to dive into something today that's really interesting.
Okay.
Drones.
Okay.
And not just like your kid flying a drone around and catching you doing something embarrassing in the backyard.
Mm,
We're talking about serious stuff, like
mm.
using them in disasters,
Right.
like actual life and death situations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had a bunch of articles about how drones were used in Hurricanes Helene and Milton recently.
Yeah.
So let's like jump into it.
Okay.
What are some of the things that stood out to you as you've been reading all this stuff?
Well, I think it's really fascinating to see how technology is changing the way we respond to disasters.
Okay.
And it's not just the usual suspects like FEMA or the Red Cross.
Oh, okay.
We're seeing everyday people using their own personal drones to help out,
Oh, wow.
which, I mean, that's amazing.
Okay.
But it also raises some, logistical and ethical questions that we need to consider.
Yeah, because one of the things that really blew my mind was they're flying drones into the eye of a hurricane now.
I know, right?
The NOAA is sending these things, basically, they're like weather balloons on steroids, just straight into the storm.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the advantage of that? Is it just a cooler way to check the weather?
Well, it's not just about looking cool, although, I mean, come on, drones in a hurricane, that's pretty awesome.
Right.
But seriously, it allows them to collect really precise data in real time.
Okay.
Things like wind speed, barometric pressure, temperature, all that good stuff.
Okay.
And that information is crucial for predicting the path and intensity of the hurricane,
Okay.
which helps communities prepare and evacuate much more effectively.
Right. Which could potentially save lives.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just forecasting, too.
Okay.
Drones with thermal imaging cameras are being used to find people trapped under debris.
Really?
Yeah, things that might be missed by human rescue teams.
Oh, wow.
That's where we see the real impact on saving lives.
Okay, so they can like see through the rubble with these cameras.
In a way, yes. They detect heat signatures.
That's wild. So it's like having a superpower for search and rescue,
Pretty much.
but it wasn't just, government agencies using these things. I read about Walmart delivering prescriptions and stuff with drones after the hurricane.
Oh, yeah, that was incredible.
They were airdropping to a senior center that was totally cut off.
Right. They got special permission from the FAA to operate beyond their normal limits because of the emergency.
Yeah, because normally they can't just like deliver things willy-nilly, right?
No, there are strict regulations, but this highlights how existing technology can be adapted and used in new ways during disasters.
Yeah, like repurposing it for something completely different.
Exactly. Imagine if drone delivery becomes even more commonplace.
Okay.
The possibilities for disaster relief are huge.
Yeah, like instead of waiting for roads to clear, they could just fly stuff right over.
Exactly. It could be a game changer for getting aid to people who need it most.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And, it's not just the big companies, right? Like, I was reading about all these regular people, just everyday folks using their own drones to help out.
Yeah, the citizen drone pile.
Yeah. Like, some were even finding victims in the wreckage, which is, obviously it's a horrible thing, but it just shows you how powerful this technology is.
It's a double-edged sword, right? You've got all these well-intentioned people wanting to help,
Right.
but then you have the FAA trying to manage airspace and make sure everything runs smoothly.
Right.
Which isn't always easy when you've got a swarm of drones in the air.
So it's like a drone traffic jam.
Kind of, yeah. The FAA had to step in and restrict drone flights in certain areas.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. Some people saw it as a conspiracy.
Oh, no.
Like the government was trying to silence citizen journalists or something.
Oh, wow.
But it really came down to safety and making sure those drones didn't interfere with rescue operations.
Yeah, I can see that. If you've got like a million drones in the air, it's going to be hard to coordinate everything.
Exactly. It's a new frontier, so we're all still figuring things out as we go.
So, like, how do you even start to, like, organize all these different people using drones in a disaster area?
Yeah.
It's like herding cats.
Right. It's a huge challenge for sure. The FAA is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because you want to let people help.
Right.
But you also need to make sure the airspace isn't chaotic.
Right. Like, we don't need a drone delivering a pizza colliding with a drone that's, like, trying to rescue somebody.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance. You know, you don't want to discourage those farmers who are using their crop dusting drones to get supplies to people.
Right.
But at the same time, you can't have drones flying around willy-nilly in a disaster zone.
Yeah. So how do you even start making rules for something like this? Especially with the technology changing so fast.
It's tough. I mean, one thing is for sure, education is key.
Okay.
Both for the pros and for everyday people who fly drones.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to understand airspace management, how to fly responsibly especially in an emergency.
Right, because the stakes are way higher.
Exactly. And then you've got the whole collaboration aspect.
What do you mean?
Well, you've got government agencies, private companies, and then all those citizen drone enthusiasts. They all need to be on the same page.
So it's like creating a communication network, but for the sky.
Exactly. Like imagine a drone with life-saving medicine being delayed because no one's coordinating.
Oh, man. That'd be awful.
Right. So communication is key.
That makes sense. Speaking of those critical deliveries,
Yeah.
you mentioned drones delivering blood and medical equipment. How do they make sure that stuff actually gets there in one piece? Especially in a hurricane with the wind and rain and everything.
Yeah, that's where the technology is really impressive. A lot of these drones have special cargo holds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they use dampening systems to protect fragile cargo.
Huh.
Plus, they can fly with incredible precision, even in bad weather.
So it's not like they're just strapping a package to a toy drone and hoping for the best.
No, not at all. We're talking high-tech equipment here.
Yeah.
These things are built to withstand some serious wind gusts.
Wow, that's wild. So they're actually designing drones specifically for disaster relief.
Absolutely. And it's only going to get more advanced.
That's really cool. We were talking earlier about drones being used to find people who are missing after a disaster.
Right, with the thermal imaging.
Yeah. How does that actually work?
Well, it's pretty amazing, actually. Those thermal cameras can pick up on body heat.
So even if someone is trapped under a bunch of rubble.
Exactly. The drone can detect their heat signature.
Wow, that's like having X-ray vision for rescue missions.
Pretty much. It lets rescue teams search a wide area very quickly and pinpoint where someone might be trapped.
That saves a lot of time.
It does, and in these situations, time is critical.
Right. Every second counts.
Exactly. And it's not just about speed either. Drones can get to places that might be too dangerous for human rescuers at least right away.
Oh, right. Like if a building is about to collapse?
Exactly. Or if there's flooding or unstable ground, drones can navigate those hazards much more easily.
So it's not just about doing things faster. It's about doing things that we couldn't even do before.
Exactly. It's about expanding our capabilities and using every tool at our disposal to save lives.
That's amazing. And it's not just those initial rescue efforts either, right? You said something before about drones being used to assess damage after a disaster.
Right. They can do a flyover of an entire area and provide a really detailed view of the damage.
Oh, so they can see like which buildings are damaged, which areas are flooded, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And they're not just using your average camera either. These are high-resolution cameras that capture incredibly detailed images and video.
So it's like having a bird's eye view of the whole disaster zone.
Exactly. And that information is crucial for coordinating the relief effort.
Right, because you need to know where to send help first.
Exactly. They can pinpoint the hardest hit areas, see which roads are blocked, and figure out where to focus their resources.
So instead of just reacting to the chaos, they can be more strategic about it.
Exactly. And that's where artificial intelligence comes in. Remember we talked about training AI to recognize patterns of damage from drone footage?
Oh yeah, that was really interesting. So how does that actually work in the real world? So we've got these drones capturing tons of images and video of the damage. What happens next? Does someone sit there with a magnifying glass analyzing every pixel?
That's where AI comes in. Instead of having humans manually sift through all that data, we can use AI algorithms to do the heavy lifting. By feeding these systems thousands, even millions of images of disaster damage, we can teach them to recognize patterns, identify specific types of damage, and even predict the severity of the impact based on visual cues.
So it's like training a computer to be a disaster detective, looking for clues and connecting the dots much faster than any human could.
Exactly. And because AI can process information so much faster than we can, it means we can get a clearer, more comprehensive understanding of the situation on the ground much more quickly. That speed can be the difference between getting aid to where it's needed most immediately versus days or even weeks later.
Wow, that's a game changer, especially in those critical early stages after a disaster. But it's not just about assessing damage after the fact, right? You mentioned earlier that AI could potentially help us predict disasters as well.
It's an area of ongoing research, but there's a lot of potential there. By analyzing vast data sets, think weather patterns, historical data, even real-time sensor readings, AI algorithms can identify subtle trends and anomalies that humans might miss.
So instead of just reacting to a hurricane once it's formed, AI could potentially give us a heads up that conditions are ripe for a major storm days or even weeks in advance.
Exactly. That kind of advanced warning could be invaluable for communities in hurricane-prone areas. Imagine having extra time to prepare, reinforce infrastructure, and even pre-position supplies and resources based on AI predictions. It could save lives and reduce the overall impact of the disaster.
It's like having a crystal ball, but one powered by data and algorithms instead of magic. It sounds like we're moving from a reactive approach to a more proactive one.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's really the key takeaway here. The future of disaster relief is about leveraging technology not just to respond to disasters, but to anticipate, mitigate, and ultimately build more resilient communities.
It's incredible to think about how far we've come and how quickly this technology is evolving. Drones have gone from being cool gadgets to essential tools in just a few short years.
And this is just the beginning. As technology continues to advance, we can expect to see even more innovative applications of drones and AI in disaster relief. We're talking about swarms of drones working together to survey damage, autonomous drones delivering aid to remote areas, even drones equipped with medical sensors that can provide on-site triage and support.
It sounds like the stuff of science fiction, but it's becoming our reality. And it's all driven by this amazing combination of human ingenuity, cutting-edge technology, and a deep desire to help others in need.
Well said. It's a testament to the power of human innovation, especially when we work together towards a common goal.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, or should I say, airspace. Drones are changing the way we respond to disasters, offering a glimpse into a future where we can act faster, smarter, and with even greater compassion.
Indeed. And the most exciting part is that this technology is still in its early stages, which means the potential for even greater advancements in the years to come is immense.
So the next time you look up and see a drone buzzing overhead, it might just be on its way to change the world, one disaster at a time.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Thanks for joining us.